Vegeta stands alone in the gravity chamber, eyes on a new capsule corp machine humming beside him. Bulma says it can open a path to the strange energy that shook their sky last night, but she begged him not to use it yet. He feels that power pulling at him, a threat and a dare, and his pride will not let it stand. If there is a new battlefield, I will reach it first, he mutters, flooding the device with his own key. The chamber cracks with light as space tears open, and Vegeta strides into the roaring breach. The air changes at once. Vegeta bursts from the rift into cold, high wind. A skyline rises beneath him, glass and steel towers stacked beside a wide river. Cars blink like insects far below. Bright screens flash on building faces. He has never seen this city, but it feels like a place that loves noise and speed. His body lurches. Gravity tugs harder than it should. The device chained to his wrist, a slim capsule corp band, burns hot against his skin. The rift behind him shrinks, hissing, and thin lines of purple crackle in the sky where he tore space. He grits his teeth and forces his key to settle. "Where am I?" he breathes. No answer. Only horns, sirens, and the distant chop of engines. On the street, people stop and stare. Phones lift. A child points up at the small shape hanging in the sky, in blue armor and white gloves, cape of dark hair whipping in the wind. "Is that a new Avenger?" "No way, man, that's not one of ours." High above, 3 sleek jets angle toward him. Their wings bear a symbol, a simple bird inside a ring. They lock on and climb fast. Vegeta frowns. His scouter is gone, but he does not need it. He can feel their weak power levels. These are ants with sharp toys. A voice crackles inside one of the cockpits. "Unidentified target over Manhattan. This is S.H.I.E.L.D. You are in restricted airspace. Land at once or we will fire." Vegeta hears nothing, but he reads the intent. Weapons charge. His aura stirs on instinct. "First welcome, and they point guns at me," he says. Typical. The jets fire. White streaks rush at him. He does not move until the last instant, then tilts 2 fingers and flicks the energy aside. Explosions bloom behind him, too close to the jets. Shockwaves slap metal wings. One jet spins, fire licking its engine. The pilot screams. Vegeta curses under his breath. This world is weak, but the people are not his enemies. His pride will not let him look small by smashing insects either. He flashes forward in a sharp burst of blue light. In one swift motion, he catches the falling jet by its nose, muscles straining, and drags it out of its spiral. Metal burns his gloves. The city tilts under them. He lowers the jet toward a flat rooftop and sets it down hard but safe. The pilot stares at him through the canopy, eyes wide in shock. Vegeta taps the glass once. "Control your aim," he says, voice cold. He shoots back into the sky before the man can answer. Codex note: Saiyan Royal. Warriors often save enemies by reflex, not mercy, to prove perfect control of power. Across the river, a tower of metal and glass watches him. Near its top, large glowing letters spell out a name: Stark. Inside, alarms flash on a dozen screens. Tony Stark slides into the Iron Man armor as segments clamp and seal around him. "Okay, Friday, talk to me," he says. "Unknown flying subject, human-like, extreme power output," the AI replies. He just palmed a live missile and parked one of Fury's jets like a used car. Tony's eyes narrow. "Put me on with the big guy and the Star-Spangled Man." In another part of the city, Captain America hears the call crackle in his earpiece. Steve Rogers pulls his shield from his back and starts to run. Spider-Man swings between buildings, red and blue suit cutting arcs through the sky as he follows the glowing marker in his mask. "Whoa," Peter says, eyes wide. New alien, wizard, angry cosplayer. Stay sharp, kid, Steve answers. We don't know what he is. On a distant rooftop, a circle of sparks opens in midair. The portal spins like a small sun. Dr. Stephen Strange steps through, red cloak of levitation billowing behind him. The runes on his hands glow faintly as he looks up at the shrinking crack in the sky. That tear is wrong. It is not like a sling ring portal. It is not like any known wormhole or spell. He feels the universe flinch. In low orbit, a dark shape hangs above the world. It is a massive ship, almost a city in space, with jagged fins and glowing engines. On its side is the same bird in circle symbol as the jets, but twisted by extra metal and strange engines. The S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier floats there, hidden from simple eyes, bristling with weapons. On its bridge, director Nick Fury stares at the same crack on a live feed. "Give me all overheads on that tear," Fury says, "and get me a word from the wizard and the Tin Man. I want to know if that thing is going to rip our sky open." "Yes, sir," Maria Hill replies. Vegeta hangs in the air, testing his Kai against this world's atmosphere. The capsule corp band on his wrist pulses again, sending tiny arcs into his skin. He feels a tug, not from below, but from beyond. The same strange power that called him is still out there past the blue of this sky. "Another force," he mutters, "on the edge of this universe, watching." He does not like being watched. A streak of red and gold cuts up from the city. Iron Man slows as he nears Vegeta, palms open, repulsors glowing but not firing. "Hey there, tall, dark and spiky," Tony calls out over external speakers. "I'm Iron Man. You're in my air. Let's talk before Fury sends more jets and has a heart attack." Vegeta glances at him, unimpressed. "You are weak," he says, "but not as weak as the others." "Wow. Okay, so we're starting rude." Tony hovers closer. "You come through that crack because my magic friend down there is having a panic attack about it. This world pulled on my key," Vegeta says. "A power like a shout. I came to answer, and to see if it was worth my time." "Yeah, that tracks as rude invader in about 30 languages," Tony mutters. "Look, purple lightning in the sky is bad for stock prices, so maybe we keep the holes in reality to a minimum." Before Vegeta can reply, thunder booms. A storm gathers out of a clear sky. Lightning lashes down beside them. Thor appears in a flash, armor gleaming, hammer Mjolnir in hand. He looks Vegeta up and down with calm warrior eyes. "I felt a wound in the sky," Thor says, "and a proud heart at its center." "You are one of this realm's gods?" Vegeta asks. Thor smiles a little. "I am Thor, son of Odin. Some call me a god. I call myself a protector of Midgard. Who are you, stranger?" "I am Vegeta, Prince of all Scions." The title hangs there, sharp and hard. Before they can say more, alarms scream inside every S.H.I.E.L.D. console. "Director, we have multiple contacts," Hill says. "Not ours. They're forcing their way through the same fracture pattern as the first tear." On screens above the bridge, shapes appear in high orbit. Sleek, dagger-like ships with blue engines drop out of a purple scar in space. Their hulls bear a star-like emblem with sharp points. Fury's jaw tightens. "Are those Kree?" he asks. "Signature matches," Hill answers. "They're piggybacking on the rift." The lead Kree cruiser opens its hangars. Swarms of smaller attack craft pour out, heading straight for Earth. Down below, Iron Man's HUD fills with red dots. "Okay, new plan," he says. "Spiky, welcome to Earth. We're already under attack." Vegeta narrows his eyes as he feels new power signatures rush in. These are stronger than the jets, still low compared to him, but they are many, and their energy has a cold, ordered feel. Good, he says softly. A test. Strange rises up on a disk of green magic, joining the group in the air. That tear you made is now a door, he tells Vegeta. Others are walking through it. Close it, or your test will drown this world. Vegeta stares at the crackling wound above. I did not open it to let cowards in, he says. I opened it to find whoever dared reach into my universe. Strange's eyes narrow. He feels pride and anger in this man, but also a fierce drive to fight anything that threatens his home. Then prove you are not our enemy, Strange says. Fight with us. Below them, Captain America stands in the middle of a busy street. People run past him screaming. Spider-Man lands on a car nearby, mask lenses wide as he stares up at the descending ships. Steve lifts his shield and speaks into his comm. Avengers, he says, assemble. On rooftops, in alleys and in the sky, heroes move. Hulk roars as he leaps from a helicarrier drop craft, body growing in mid-air. Black Widow checks her pistols. Hawkeye knocks an arrow on a high ledge. War Machine's armor locks and loads beside Iron Man. The camera pulls wide. It shows the city, the crack in the sky, the swarm of alien ships, and a single Saiyan prince floating between two worlds. Then the first Kree fighters hit the atmosphere. They scream down in tight lines, firing blue-white beams. Buildings crack, streets explode. A bus flips onto its side. Spider-Man shoots webbing to pull a child out of the blast zone. Vegeta moves. He vanishes in a streak of blue light, appears beside the lead Kree craft, and smashes his fist through its hull. Metal shreds. The ship breaks in half and blows apart. He kicks off the wreck and slams into another, dragging it up and away from the city, then hurls it into a third. 3 blue suns bloom in the sky. Iron Man whistles. Okay, yeah, Tony says. We're not benching this guy. Thor spins Mjolnir and rides lightning through a swarm, calling down bolts that fry alien engines. Cap coordinates ground evac, calling out clear streets and safe paths. Hulk tears through a crashed fighter, ripping it apart like paper and using a wing as a shield. Above, Strange draws glowing sigils. He throws up a wide, curved shield of light to catch falling debris. Each new impact drains his strength. The rift crackles and widens as more Kree ships push through. Strange, Cap shouts over comms. Can you close that thing? Not while it is tied to our new guest's energy, Strange says, voice strained. Our universes are locked together through him. Vegeta hears it. Locked. Through me, he repeats. He feels it now. Every key blast he fires, every surge he sends into the air, tugs on an invisible chain tied to the capsule corp band. The band's tiny core crystal glows brighter. The rift flares each time he pushes. The device is not just a door, it is fuel. He scowls. Bulma will have a word for him if he breaks this world. He clenches his fists and forces his aura to stay tight around his body. Fine, he growls. I will fight with less power for now. He darts into the swarm again, this time using more skill than raw output. He weaves between ships and punches engines instead of blowing them apart. He redirects blasts toward the upper sky, where they burn out in the thin air. Iron Man and War Machine fall into a pattern with him. Flanking the Kree fighters, he knocks off balance and finishing them with precise shots. Thor swings wide and smashes larger dropships. Hulk and the ground team clean up anything that makes it through. The city still takes hits. Windows shatter, streets crack, people get hurt. But it could be worse, much worse. Minutes stretch like hours. Then at last, the Kree fighters begin to pull back. On the helicarrier, Hill points to the feed. "They're retreating, Director," she says, pulling behind the main cruiser. "Or regrouping," Fury replies. "They didn't come this far just to lose a few wings and go home." In deep space, aboard the lead Kree cruiser, a tall blue-skinned man stands before a star map. He holds a massive hammer-like weapon in one hand. His armor bears the emblem of the Kree Accuser Corps. Ronan, the Accuser, watches Earth with cold, judging eyes. "This new warrior's energy," he says to the hollow image of the Kree Supreme Intelligence. "It breaks our fighters as if they are toys. But my scientists say his power bleeds into the breach itself." The Supreme Intelligence, a vast face made of swirling green light, speaks in many blended voices. "His key is a key," it says. "It links two universes. We will seize it, or we will cut it out of him and use it ourselves." Ronan bows his head once. "As you command." The Kree cruiser shifts position, staying outside the reach of the Earth's weapons. On the ground, the smoke of battle hangs over Manhattan. Fire trucks and ambulances crowd the streets. Heroes move through the wreckage, lifting rubble, pulling people to safety. Vegeta lands on a cracked stretch of road, breathing harder than he wants to show. His body is fine. His pride is not. He hates fighting with his power held back. Captain America walks up, shield on his arm, dirt on his face. "You saved a lot of lives today," Steve says. "Thank you." Vegeta snorts. "I did not come here to watch civilians die," he says. "If I wanted that, I would have let those jets hit me and fall from the sky." Steve studies him. "You could have blown those ships apart in one blast," he says. "You didn't." "I do not waste strength," Vegeta says, "or life, not when it proves nothing." "That sounds like a rule," Steve says. Vegeta shrugs. "Power must protect my family," he says. "If it destroys everything, there is nothing left to rule." Steve nods slowly. "That's a good rule," he says. "I'm Steve. People call me Captain America." Vegeta eyes the shield. "A captain," he says. "You command these warriors." "I lead them," Steve says, "when they let me." Iron Man lands beside them, helmet folding back. "Okay, post-game recap later," Tony says. "Magic Man wants us upstairs. Fury too. We're calling a war council." Vegeta raises an eyebrow. "You think you can command me, Tin Man?" Tony smiles faintly. "I think you want answers as much as we do," he says. "Like who those blue guys were, why they used your hole in the sky, and what happens if that thing flares again." Vegeta glances up at the crack, which now sits smaller but still present, like a thin scar in the clouds. His hand tightens over the band on his wrist. "Fine," he says. "Lead the way." The Avengers compound sits on a stretch of land outside the city. Clean lines, glass and metal. A big A on one wall. Inside, the war room glows with holograms, maps and live feeds. Vegeta stands at one end of a long table. At the other sit or stand the key figures of this world. Tony Stark, in a half-open suit. Steve Rogers, arms folded, shield resting nearby. Thor, leaning on Mjolnir. Bruce Banner, glasses back on, hands shaking slightly as he drinks coffee. Natasha Romanoff, silent and watchful. Clint Barton, leaning in a chair. Spider-Man, in a fresh hoodie over his suit, fidgeting. Doctor Strange, cloak drifting behind him. Nick Fury, eye patch sharp, coat darker than the room. Holographic screens show the Kree cruiser in orbit and a magnified image of the rift with energy readings. "Let's make this simple," Fury says. "Blue hair, prince of all what now? You open my sky. Now space fascists are knocking. Start talking." Vegeta's eyes flick over each of them. He feels the weight of their gaze. Warriors, leaders, some more than others. He lifts his chin. My name is Vegeta, he says, Prince of all Saiyans. My world is not this one. I came because something in your universe reached into mine. It shook our sky. My wife's machines traced the source. I used her device to cross over and destroy whoever dared threaten my home. Banner pushes his glasses up. You crossed universes. On purpose, he says. With that, he points at the Capsule Corp band. Vegeta glances at it. Yes, he says. Bulma calls it a dimensional converter. It locks onto power signatures across realities and opens a path. Strange steps forward, eyes narrow. It doesn't just open a path, he says. It punches a wound through the walls between worlds. That wound is now anchored to your ki. Every time you power up, it flares. That is how the Kree came through. Vegeta's jaw tightens. Then I will kill the Kree and close it, he says. Tony shakes his head. Not that easy, big guy, he says. That rift is like... Okay, like a cut in a spacesuit. You can tape over it, but the pressure keeps pushing. If we just blast it, we might tear it wider. Strange nods. The walls between universes are not meant to be forced, he says. There are rules, old ones. Break them too much, and reality fights back. Thor lifts his hammer. We have faced such things before, he says. Doors between realms misused. They always carry a price. Vegeta crosses his arms. I did not cross half a multiverse to listen to weaklings talk about rules, he says. If these blue-skinned cowards think they can use my strength, I will show them their mistake. See, and that's the part we need to talk about, Steve says, calm. How you fight matters. People get caught in the middle. You held back today, but if you let go... He glances at the screen showing the energy from Vegeta's earlier blasts. You could level half the city in under a minute, Steve says. We cannot let that happen. Not even to win. Vegeta's eyes flash. In war, there are times when the ground breaks, he says. If you hold back for every ant in the field, you lose. Spider-Man raises a hand timidly. Peter says. Hi, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I get both sides here. Like, yeah, sometimes you have to punch the big bad real hard. But also, those ants are people, kids, families, people like my Aunt May. We don't just trade them away. Vegeta looks at the boy. He sees fear but also stubborn courage. I do not trade my family, he says quietly. Not for anything. But these people are not your family, Strange says. His voice is not cruel, but it is sharp. You do not know them. You arrived, broke our sky, and drew an empire down on us. Why should we trust your judgment on which lives are worth any risk? The room falls silent. Vegeta feels the weight of their words. Pride pushes back, telling him to shout, to remind them who he is, what he has done. But another memory slips in. Trunks, small and afraid, clinging to his leg on a world torn apart. Bulma's worried face over a lab bench. He looks at the live feed of injured civilians being lifted into ambulances. I do not know them, he says at last. But the ones who attacked them used me. That is enough. Tony taps on a console. Good. Because we have intel on our new space friends, he says. Say hello to the Kree Empire. Blue skin, bad tempers, love, big weapons, and holy war. A hologram of Ronan appears, hammer in hand. This one calls himself Ronan the Accuser, Tony says. High-ranking war criminal on half the galactic network, religious cop on the other half. That hammer he's holding, it's called a universal weapon. It bends physical laws, smashes planets, and apparently, our satellites are very scared of it. Banner swallows. His energy readings match the strange fluctuations around the rift, Banner says. He's studying the tear. And us. Strange folds his arms. The Kree are not fools, he says. They saw something new. A warrior from another universe whose power leaks into reality itself. They will not just attack. They will adapt. Exactly, Fury says. They already piggybacked your rift. Next, they'll build something that turns your own juice against you. We need a plan before that happens. Steve nods. First step, he says. Stop them from using this breach to bring in more ships. Second, Natasha adds, figure out what the Kree want with you, Vegeta, and cut that link. Third, Tony says, do all that while keeping the body count as low as we can. Vegeta smirks. You ask much, he says, but fine. I did not come here to be used as a battery. Strange looks at him. There is another layer, he says. The magic or science in your band is not stable in this universe. Every use corrodes the boundary between here and your home. If it breaks completely, the two realities could bleed together. You might never see your family again. Or worse, both worlds could tear each other apart. Vegeta's hand curls into a fist, around the band. That device is my path back, he says. I will not let these Kree destroy it. Fury leans forward. Then we're agreed, he says. Ronan wants your power. We make sure he doesn't get it, and we keep our world in one piece. Rogers, Stark, Thor, Strange, Banner, you're on primary strike. Cyan Prince here joins the roster, for now. And if he gets out of line, Natasha asks quietly. Fury's eye stays on Vegeta. Then we cross that bridge when we have to, he says. Vegeta meets his gaze, unflinching. I will not be your weapon, he says. I fight for my own code. Power must protect my family, and anyone you put under my watch. That's all we ask, Steve says. For now, Tony adds. An alarm chimes. Friday's voice echoes through the room. Warning, she says. New energy spike near the rift. Signature is different. Not Kree, not Earth. But it is key to the Science key. Banner's fingers fly over the controls. They're doing it, he whispers. They're already adapting. The Avengers move fast. Within minutes, they are back in the air and on the ground beneath the crack in the sky. Strange hovers in the center, hands raised, weaving a delicate lattice of golden shields to keep the tier contained. Thor floats nearby, ready to strike lightning at any stray blast. Iron Man and War Machine climb high, scanning. Hulk waits below, muscles tense. Cap and Natasha coordinate ground teams to clear civilians from the danger zone. Spider-Man zips across rooftops, helping people reach safer buildings. Vegeta floats at the edge of Strange's glowing net, eyes locked on the rift. He feels it before the instruments do. Something inside the tear reaches for him. It feels like his own Kai reflected back, but twisted, hollow, as if hollow tubes of energy are being shaped to match his pattern. It is not a mind. It is a tool. Brace, Strange says. Something is coming through. The rift flares, but no ship emerges. Instead, a sleek black object the size of a small car drops out. It is made of alien metal and humming crystals. It falls toward the city, then stops at a set height and hangs in the air, spinning slowly. Its surface opens like an eye, and a wave of dark, cold energy pulses out. Vegeta feels the hit like a slap. His aura flickers. His ki flow stutters. For a heartbeat, he cannot feel his own power. He drops several feet before he catches himself. What was that? He snarls. Strange grunts as several of his shields crack. That device is eating energy, Strange says. Not just normal power. It is tuned to your ki and to my magic. Iron Man fires a blast at the object. The beam hits, then bends, wrapping around the device and fading into nothing. Okay, Tony said. It also eats repulsors. Not cool. Thor hurls Mjolnir. The hammer slams into the device. For a moment, there is a bright spark. Then Mjolnir bounces away with less force than it had when it struck. Thor catches it, eyes wide. "I felt it take my storm," he says, as if the blow never landed. The device pulses again. Strange's shields dim. Hulk staggers and clutches his head. "Something's messing with Banner," Hulk growls, voice thick. Banner's brain deep inside feels a strange numbness. The gamma energy that fuels the Hulk's form ripples under this new influence. Peter swings closer, but his spider sense screams. He stops and lands on a lamppost instead. "I don't think I should go near that thing," he says. "Every part of me is yelling bad idea." Vegeta bares his teeth. "So this is their trick," he says, "a tool that drinks power." He charges a blast in his palm. Blue light gathers, pure and sharp. The device pulses in reply, as if eager. "Vegeta, wait!" Strange calls. Too late. Vegeta fires. The ki beam slams into the device. For a moment it flares bright blue. Then it turns black. The beam bends, folds, and shoots back toward Vegeta like a mirror image. His eyes widen. He barely has time to cross his arms before the reflected blast slams into him. The impact hurls him backward through the air. He smashes through a billboard and into the side of a building. Concrete cracks. Glass rains down. He drags himself out of the crater, teeth clenched, smoke rising from his armor. Pain hums through his muscles. Not much, but enough to sting his pride. "Damn them," he growls. On the Kree cruiser, Ronan watches the feed from the null obelisk, the device hanging over the city. "It works," he says. "Our null wave drinks his ki and sends it back. His greatest strength becomes his chain." The Supreme Intelligence's face shifts in the green glow. "Good," it says. "Break him. Then we will harvest what remains." Back on Earth, Strange and Tony speak quickly. "That thing is tuned to his energy signature," Strange says, "and to any high-order power in this area. The more we hit it with our strongest attacks, the stronger it becomes." "So we don't hit it with strong attacks," Tony says. "We hit it with smart ones." Vegeta floats back into place, breathing hard. "They use my own power against me," he says. "Welcome to our world," Steve says. "We've seen this move before. Villains love it." Vegeta glares at the device. "If I go near it with full power, it will drink my ki," he says slowly. "If I hit it from far away, it throws my blast back at me." He forces himself to think, not just react. He is a fighter, not only a battering ram. "Then I will break it without ki," he says. Thor raises an eyebrow. "How?" he asks. "You fly by your ki. You strike with your ki. It is who you are." Vegeta smirks. "I am more than my energy," he says. "I train my body under 10 times, 100 times normal gravity. I can fight with my fists alone." He shoots downward, shutting his aura down as much as he can. He still flies, but slower, closer to a jump. The device pulses, trying to read his ki. It catches some, but much less. Vegeta tucks his knees and dives. He slams into the object at an angle, using raw muscle and momentum instead of a Kai punch. Metal dents. Crystals crack. The null obelisk wobbles. A smaller pulse washes over him. His limbs feel heavy for a moment, but he pushes through. He hits it again, and again. On the 4th blow, the main crystal shatters. The device flickers and dies, dropping like a stone. Hulk leaps and catches it, then slams it into the pavement with a roar. The null obelisk breaks apart. The rift above it dims a little. Vegeta lands, chest heaving, sweat on his brow. His arms ache, and his band itches with leftover static. Strange floats down beside him. "That was reckless," Strange says, "and smart." Vegeta grins, sharp and tired. Of course it was, he says. Codex note. Anti-Chi null devices can bend and reflect structured energy, but they are less effective against pure physical force and low signal movement. Later, back at the compound, the War Council regathers. The mood is different now. The first attack was chaos. This one was a test, and they all know it. Tony brings up new data on the screen. Okay, he says. Let's break this down. The Kree just dropped a null obelisk tied to Vegeta's key. It drank our best shots, flipped his blast back at him, and tried to scramble Banner and Strange. That means two things. He raises two fingers. One, they are not just throwing ships at us. They are studying us, building gadgets that target our strongest players. Two, Banner adds, they had that thing ready fast. That means they either have some crazy, wide-range science, or, he glances at Vegeta's band, or they already pulled data from your device when you opened the breach. Strange nods. The converter may have shared more than just a path, he says. It might have broadcast your key pattern into the void. The Kree picked it up. Vegeta scowls. Bulma said the early tests were safe, he says. But this is not our universe. Different rules, Strange says. Different predators. Steve leans on the table. Either way, we know their plan now, he says. Use Vegeta's power against us. Break him. Turn him into a key, a battery, a weapon. We cannot let that happen. Then maybe we should send him home, Natasha says. Close the door, pull out the key. Better a cut now than a wound later. All eyes turn to Vegeta. His jaw tightens. If I go now, the rift stays, Strange says, before Vegeta can speak. It is tied to his key, yes, but the damage is already done. Closing it from one side may just tear it wider. We need a clean method. And sending him back without fixing anything leaves the Kree with all the data they need on his energy, Tony says. Next time they show up, they bring something worse. Natasha does not look away. So, we keep the walking bomb, she says, in our house. Vegeta's aura flares for a second. I am not your bomb, he says. I am your wall. The one thing standing between your world and those cowards in the dark. Steve steps between them, palms out. Everyone, breathe, he says. We need him. He needs us. That's the truth. Ronan is coming. The Supreme Intelligence wants a new weapon. We stand together, or we fall one by one. Fine, Natasha says. But we set rules. Rules? Vegeta repeats, annoyed. Battle rules, Steve says. You do not use full power near cities. You listen when we say, pull back. You let Strange and Banner study that band so we can find a safe way to close the rift. In return, we fight with you. We watch your back. We help you get home. Vegeta thinks. He hates rules. He hates being told what to do by men who could not last a second against him. But he also knows something else. He has fought alone for much of his life. It is a hard path, a lonely one. He looks at the live feeds again. People in shelters, children wrapped in blankets, watching the sky. He hears Trunks' voice in his head. Papa, you won't leave us, right? He exhales. My code is simple, Vegeta says. Power must protect my family. If I must follow your rules to protect them and to stop these Kree from reaching my world, I will do it. For now. Steve nods. That's enough for me, he says. Strange looks thoughtful. There is also the question of doctrine, he says. We sorcerers guard the barriers between dimensions. Your device breaks those barriers. Even if you are an ally for now, some of my order will see you as a walking heresy. Let them come, Vegeta says. I will show them what real power is. Strange's eyes harden. This is not a game, he says. The fabric of our reality is at stake. Your pride could doom 2 universes. Vegeta steps closer. And your fear could let the Kree take everything while you hide behind rules, he says. Sometimes to win, you must break something. Not everything worth winning survives that logic, Strange says. Steve lifts a hand. Mercy versus survival, he says. Law versus power. We have been here before. We cannot just choose one side and call it a day. Thor nods. In Asgard, we knew war, he says. We also knew that a warrior's pride can burn worlds, but we also knew that fear of that pride can leave us weak before our foes. Balance is the hard road, but it is the only one that leads to peace. Spider-Man raises a hand again. Can we maybe pick the option where we stop the Kree and don't break the universe? He asks. That'd be nice. Fury's lips twitch. Kid's got a point, he says. We don't have the luxury of pure doctrine or pure war. We're going to have to walk a line. Banner clears his throat. And we're not the only ones in this fight anymore, he says. We have allies out there. Captain Marvel, for one. She knows the Kree better than any of us. Tony nods. Already sent a ping, he says. She's not in range yet, but she'll hear about this. And when she does, she'll want a piece of Ronan. Vegeta crosses his arms again. Good, he says. More strong fighters. An alert window pops up on the main screen. Speaking of new fighters, Peter says, pointing. What's that? A map of the world appears, with a blinking point far from New York. Over a small country, energy readings spike and then vanish. Unscheduled energy event, Hill's voice comes over the comm. Looks like a miniature version of the rift. And then, nothing. But a whole S.H.I.E.L.D. outpost just went dark. Location? Fury asks. Near Wakanda, Hill says. On their border. Tony whistles. If the Kree are poking around Wakanda's toys, that's bad news, he says. They have tech almost as good as mine. Better, Banner murmurs. Steve straightens. Get me to T'Challa, he says. We need to know what happened. Hours later, they have answers. None of them are good. The Kree dropped a smaller null device near the S.H.I.E.L.D. outpost. It did not blow up. It pulsed once, drained all power in the area, and then vanished back into the rift. It was a probe. They're mapping how our energy systems react to their null fields, Banner says. Not just Vegeta's, Kai. Our tech, Wakanda's vibranium systems, Strange's magic. They want a way to shut us all down at once. And then hit us when we're blind, Natasha says. Fury's face is hard. This is the smarter foe we've been waiting on, he says. Not just ships and guns, strategy, science, theology. They think they're on a holy mission to judge us. Judgment, Thor says quietly. Ronan lives for that word. Vegeta clenches his fists. So they want to judge me, he says. Good. Let them come. I will show them their sentence. Strange looks at him. Be careful, he says. Their judgment is not about truth. It is about control. They will offer you a chance to save more lives by bending to their system, by giving them your power so they can order the universe their way. Vegeta scoffs. I bow to no one, he says. Pride is your shield, Strange says. It is also your crack. They will aim for it. A silence settles over the room. Up to now, Vegeta has arrived, saved a city, and seen his own power turned against him. The Kree have shown their hand. Study, adapt, nullify. The rift still hangs above the world like a healing wound. The next move will cut deeper. They all know this. Power scaling interlude. Banner speaks first, voice calm but tight. Vegeta's ki is not like Thor's lightning or my gamma energy, he says. It is structured, layered, and responds to his will in a direct line. The Kree null obelisk matched. that pattern and inverted it. Strange nods. They are building tools that see his power as code, not just force. They can turn his blast into keys, his aura into a door. Tony adds, think of it like hacking a program by feeding it its own code back in a bad loop. Thor grips his hammer. If they master this, every swing of his fist could open a path for them. Vegeta listens, eyes narrowing, as he realizes the foe ahead is not just strong. It is clever enough to cut into the heart of what makes him who he is. The war room feels smaller now. Screens show the Kree cruiser holding position beyond Earth's orbit. Energy crafts crawl along the edges. The rift above the planet pulses like a slow heartbeat, tied to the thin band on Vegeta's wrist. Fury stands at the head of the table, hands flat, eye hard. Standard counters fail, he says. We hit them with ships, they outgun us. We hit them with our heavy hitters. They build toys that drink our power. If we wait, they drop a bigger null device and turn this planet into a dead rock under their holy law. Banner taps a screen. The null obelisk was a first draft, he says. Look at this. During the fight, it didn't just absorb ki, it recorded it. Same with my gamma output and Strange's magic. Strange nods. They use that data to refine their connection to the rift, he says. Every time Vegeta pushes his ki, they learn more. They are not just enemies, they are engineers. Vegeta leans against the far wall, arms folded, eyes on the cruiser image. So we stop letting them learn, he says. We go up there, we break their ship, we kill this accuser. Steve looks at the display of the cruiser's defenses. Going up there means walking into their chosen ground, he says. Their bridges, their null fields, their judgment. That is where we are strongest, Vegeta says. In the heart of the enemy. Tony nods slowly. I hate to say it, but Goku's rival over there has a point, he murmurs. Sitting here and hoping they go away is not a plan. We take the fight to them, but not blind. He brings up a new layout. A rough model of the Kree cruiser, built from scans and old files. Our best bet is a strike team, not a full fleet, Tony says. A small group that can slip in through the rift's edge. Strange can anchor a portal to the tear's outer rim. From there, we ride the distortion up to the cruiser's hull. Strange frowns. That path will be unstable, he says. The barrier between universes is weakest at the rift. If I open a tunnel through that weakness, we risk tearing it further. Can you hold it long enough for a team to pass? Steve asks. Strange looks at Vegeta. If he keeps his ki tight and low, maybe, he says. But if he surges even once. The tear grows, Fury finishes, and we give the Kree a bigger doorway. Vegeta's jaw tightens. I will control my power, he says. You worry too much. Banner shakes his head. You keep saying that like it's easy, he says. You just took a reflected blast that knocked you through a building. Your ki pathways are already stressed. The band is fused deeper into your skin every time you push. We are not only talking about control, we are talking about damage. Vegeta glances down. The metal and crystal of the capsule corp band look the same, but the skin around it is faintly red, and thin purple lines trace up his veins. Tiny sparks dance between flesh and device. My pride has carried worse, he says. Strange steps closer. This is not just about pride, he says quietly. Your ki now has a link to that rift, to them, a metaphysical wound. The more you force it, the more it could open inside you. Vegeta meets his gaze. Good, he says. Then if they want my power, they will have to reach into my body and try to take it from me. Thor lifts Mjolnir. I will stand with him, Thor says. These Kree would claim the right to judge all life. Then let them face the judgment of Midgard and Asgard together. Steve nods. Then this is the plan, he says. Strange opens a tunnel. Thor, Iron Man, Vegeta, and I go through. Natasha and Clint handle support from the helicarrier. Banner stays here. Hulk grunts. Banner sighs. That's probably smart, he says. The null fields could twist the Hulk in ways we don't understand. I can do more good here, tracking the rift and watching your vitals. Fury looks at Vegeta. You go up there, you carry us, he says. But you also carry a risk we can't control. You understand that? I am used to carrying more than my share, Vegeta says. You have my word. I will fight to stop them. I will not let my power break your world. Good, Fury says. Because if it looks like it might, I will drop every weapon I have on you before I let you tear this planet apart. For a moment, the threat hangs in the air. Then Vegeta smiles, very thin. That is what a real commander says, he answers. I would do the same. The tunnel feels like falling sideways. Strange stands at the edge of the rift, floating in the damaged sky. Golden rings of magic spin around his hands, etching a path along the tier's rim. The air shudders, colors bend. Stay close, he warns. If you drift too far from me, you may slip between layers and never find your way back. Vegeta, Thor, Steve, and Iron Man step into the shimmering passage. The world outside stretches and twists. For a moment, they see two Earths at once, then none at all. Then only the Kree cruiser, huge and dark, rushing toward them like a wall. Vegeta feels the pull of the band. It hums in time with the rift's pulse, guiding them. He keeps his aura tight and small, no larger than his own skin. It goes against every instinct. He is used to letting it flare, to filling the sky with his power. Now he has to keep it like a knife hidden behind his back. The tunnel snaps them out near the cruiser's underside, where sensors are thin. They float in the cold shadow of alien metal. Iron Man's armor adjusts at once. Mag clamps online, Tony says. He fires small bursts from his boots and lands on the hull. Steve uses a Stark-made mag line to zip after him, shield locked to his arm. Thor and Vegeta stay in the air. Strange peels back a section of space around a maintenance hatch, bending light and matter just enough to slip through. Inside, the air is thin and cold. Lights glow pale blue. Kree text runs along the walls. Remember, Steve says softly, we want their command center, not a full ship brawl. In, cut the head out. Vegeta's lips curl. I prefer clean fights, he says, but I will accept this. As they move through the narrow corridors, they feel it. A low hum, like a deep, slow heartbeat. The closer they get to the center, the stronger it becomes. Null field generator, Banner's voice says over comms. Sensors show a core in the middle of the ship. It is tuning itself to Vegeta's key in real time. As you walk toward it, it is reading you. Vegeta's muscles feel heavier with each step. Thor's grip on Mjolnir tightens. My lightning feels distant, Thor says, as if a storm is locked behind glass. Strange's magic circles dim a bit. They built this hall as a chapel to their null, Strange murmurs. Our powers are the offerings. Steve's breath mists in front of him. He shifts his shield, keeping it ready. Then we go fast, he says, before it finishes tuning. They reach a wide, circular chamber. The ceiling rises high above them. In the center stands a massive column of alien crystal and metal, humming with dark, inverted light. Lines of energy run from it through the walls, up into the ship's spine. At its base waits Ronan the Accuser. He stands with hammer in hand, height and armor making him a dark tower. The universal weapon rests against the floor. His blue skin glows faintly in the light of the core. Around the edges of the room, Kree soldiers stand at ready positions, rifles aimed. Ronan looks at Vegeta with cold interest. "So," he says, "the key arrives in my hall." Vegeta steps forward. "You used my power to attack a world that is not yours," he says. "You reached into my universe without honor. I am here to end you." Ronan tilts his head. "I am Ronan, accuser of the Kree Empire," he says. "I do not need your permission to judge a corrupt world. This planet has defied our law for too long. Now it calls help from another reality, and that help is a weapon that tears holes in the fabric of creation. This is clear proof of guilt." Steve raises his voice. "You talk about law, but you came here as an invader," he says. "You dropped weapons on our cities. You killed our people. There is no law in that, only conquest." Ronan's gaze shifts. "Law is not a vote," he says. "Law is order written across the stars. Those who stand outside it must be brought in or burned away. You call it conquest because you fear what you cannot control." He taps the floor with his hammer. The core behind him pulses. Vegeta feels a sharp tug in his chest. "Vegeta," Banner warns in his ear, "the null field is locking onto you. Your Kai is the main dish here." Vegeta's aura flickers for a moment, then settles as he clamps down. "You will not chain me," he says. Ronan smiles faintly. "You already stepped into the chain," he says. "Your device linked you to this weak little world. Your pride pulled you across the gap. Now your power anchors the rift we made our road." He lifts his hammer. "Attack pattern," Steve calls. Thor throws Mjolnir. Iron Man fires from the left. Strange weaves a tight binding spell. Vegeta rockets forward, fists ready. The room explodes into motion. Thor's hammer arcs for Ronan's head. The universal weapon swings up to meet it. When they clash, the impact sends a wave of distorted force through the core. Thor's lightning bends, slides along the null field, and vanishes into the crystal. Iron Man's beams hit Kree soldiers, dropping them, but the splashes that touch the core vanish as well. Strange's spell catches two riflemen and pins them to the wall, but the edges of his magic fray near the humming column. Vegeta closes in and drives a punch at Ronan's chest. The accuser twists, hammer shaft blocking the blow. The null core flares. Vegeta feels a sudden drag inside his arm, as if his ki is being sucked out through his fist. He jerks back. "What?" Ronan's eyes gleam. "This hall is a siphon," he says. "Every strike you throw feeds our core. Every flare of your aura deepens the rift. Keep fighting like the beast you are, and you will cut your own universe open." He slams the hammer down. A ring of black energy bursts across the floor. Thor is thrown back. Strange staggers. Iron Man's systems flicker for a second as his arc reactor output drops. Steve plants his shield and braces, teeth gritted. Vegeta slides back, boots scraping the floor. He forces his Kai down again, to a tiny burning knot in his center. "Fine," he says. "Then I will not fight like a beast. I will fight like a prince." He rushes in again, but this time his blows are smaller, tighter. He focuses on angles, on leverage, on directing his strikes to joints and weak points in the armor. He uses short bursts of Kai only at the last instant of impact, to slip past the null's reach. For a few seconds, it works. He lands a solid punch on Ronan's side, denting armor. He drives a knee into the accuser's leg, forcing him to step back. Ronan growls, surprised. "You learned restraint," Ronan says. "Impressive. Useless." He slams the universal weapon into the core. It drinks in the stored null and released Kai, then spits it out as a twisting, Wave. The wave is not pure energy. It is structured, coded with Vegeta's own pattern. It threads into his aura like hooks. He feels a stab of pain in every Chi channel at once. He cries out, dropping to one knee. "Vegeta!" Steve shouts. Iron Man fires everything he has at the universal weapon. Strange flings bolts of eldritch energy at the core. Thor calls lightning from the ship's thin atmosphere, smashing it down into the column. The core absorbs it all, glows brighter, then lashes more null threads toward Vegeta. "Stop hitting the core," Banner yells over comms. "You're feeding it." Steve hears it first. "Everyone, redirect," he shouts. "Vegeta, break off." But the null threads have already latched onto Vegeta's Chi. He tries to shove them out, to burn them away with raw power. They drink it. Pain flares again. This time it is not just physical. He feels memory twinge. Scenes flash unbidden. Namek, his own death, his past acts of cruelty. Times when he chose attack over mercy. Times when his pride cost lives. Ronan steps closer. "You have a history," Ronan says. "Worlds shattered in your wake. You have changed sides before. Knelt to tyrants for survival. You know what it is to bend." Vegeta's teeth grind. "I broke free," he hisses. "For a time," Ronan says. "But your pattern is clear. You seek strength. You bend to where strength flows. Join us. Bring your key under true law. We will give you a task worthy of your pride. You can judge whole galaxies. No more chasing small foes. No more worrying over weak civilians." The null threads thrum with every word. In Vegeta's mind, a voice overlays Ronan's. It is deeper and wider, a many-toned whisper that fills the chamber. The supreme intelligence touches the link. Images bloom behind Vegeta's eyes. He sees his own world, safe under a Kree shield. He sees Bulma's lab powered by Kree cores. Trunks, grown and strong, commanding fleets instead of hiding from monsters. He sees Earth, brought under Kree order, no longer threatened by random alien warlords, no longer dependent on fragile heroes. "You can end the chaos," the blended voices say. "You can use our law. Your pride can be a tool of peace. Give us your key. Let us weave it into our empire. We will protect what you love. We will judge what you hate." Vegeta's breath comes sharp. He sees again every time his strength was not enough. Every time someone else came to finish the fight. Kakarot surpassing him. Gods of destruction watching worlds die. Here is a chance to never be weaker again. To write his own rule across the star. His fingers twitch. The null threads tighten, sensing opening. Then another image pushes through. Not sent by the Supreme Intelligence. Not by Ronan. By his own memory. Bulma's hand, slapping him when he tried to leave without a word. Trunks' tears when he held his father for the last time before a hopeless charge. The look on Kakarot's face when Vegeta admitted he fought for his family. He hears his own voice. "Power must protect my family. If it destroys everything, there is nothing left to rule." His eyes snap wide. He snarls. "I am not your tool," he growls. "I am not your judge. I have spilled enough blood for tyrants." He gathers what Chi he can still feel, not into a blast, but into a tight sphere around the null threads. He pulls, not pushing them out, but drawing them deeper into himself. Banner's voice spikes in panic. "Vegeta, what are you doing?" he shouts. "You're taking the null inside." Vegeta roars. For a split second, the core dimly flickers. The threads snap from the column and coil fully into Vegeta's aura, fusing with it. The core's hum stutters. Then the pain hits. It is white and total. Vegeta's body convulses. His aura flashes between blue and a sickly dark purple. The band on his wrist flares, then cracks. The rift over Earth spasms. On the planet, the sky splits wider for a heartbeat. Small tears flash open in different places around the globe. Over oceans, deserts, cities, strange energies leak through, then seal. People fall to their knees as gravity lurches. In the chamber, strange screams as the magical threads he holds to the tunnel jerk. Reality is buckling, he gasps. He's pulling the null pattern into his own Chi. The rift is copying the motion. Ronan sees his chance. Fool, he says. He lifts the universal weapon and brings it down on Vegeta's back. The hammer strikes. There is a blast of twisted energy. Vegeta's armor cracks, bones strain. His body slams into the ground hard enough to crack the floor. The null key mix inside him flares in wild shapes. Steve charges, slamming his shield into Ronan's side. Thor hammers down from above. Iron Man fires a concentrated beam at Ronan's arm, trying to knock the weapon away. This time, they aim for the accuser, not the core. The universal weapon still bends some of Thor's lightning, but the hammer takes a glancing hit. Ronan staggers. He snarls and swings again, sending a shockwave that knocks them all back. Enough, Ronan says. If the key will not bend, we will break it and sift power from the pieces. He raises the hammer for a killing blow. Time shatters. For Vegeta, the room freezes mid-motion. Ronan hangs above him, weapon poised. Lightning hangs in the air in thin, bright strings. Each breath feels like moving through heavy syrup. A new presence fills the chamber. It is not Kree, not Scion, not human, Asgardian, or sorcerer. It is a weight that presses on every mind at once. Stranger's eyes widen in the frozen moment. No, he whispers. Here? In Vegeta's inner vision, the walls of the ship fall away. He floats in a void between stars. Before him rises a figure with 3 faces, one looking forward, one to each side, all masked in gold. Its body is draped in strange, simple cloth, but it is taller than worlds. Behind it, universes spin. The living tribunal, or something very like it, regards him. When it speaks, it does not move its mouths. The words simply appear in his mind. You tear at the curtain between laws, the voice says. You drag one universe toward another with your pride as hook. This is not your right. Vegeta glowers. I fight to stop those who use my power to hurt others, he says. If I must break something to do it, I will. Every break slashes more than you see, the tribunal says. Worlds you do not know, lives you will never meet. You are not the only warrior who thinks only of his own field. Images flash. Worlds crushed under Kree law. Worlds drowned in chaos when tyrants fell with no plan after. Worlds twisted into knots of pain when beings like Vegeta pulled too much power through thin walls. Balance is not a word for the weak, the voice says. It is the rule that lets any story continue. You are a variable slamming against that rule. You must be measured, judged, brought before the throne. Vegeta's hands curl into fists. Then judge me now, he says, while I stand, not when I am chained to their machine. There is process, the tribunal says. You have already drawn notice. The Kree pull from one side. Your key rips from the other. The scales tilt. You will come to the Citadel of balance. You will stand at the throne. Only then will your mandate be set, or your power removed. The vision fades. Time lurches back into motion. Ronan's hammer slams down. But something has changed. Vegeta's aura flares, not in a wild blast, but in a hard, thin shell. The hammer hits that shell and slides off, deflected. The impact still hurts, sending shock through his body, but it does not break him. He rolls aside, bleeding from his mouth, and kicks Ronan's knee sideways. The accuser grunts and stumbles. "Strange," Steve shouts. "We're done here. Pull us out." Strange's hands are shaking. "The tunnel is unstable," he says. "But if we stay, the rift will tear wider. We have to leave." Tony fires a covering burst. Thor swings Mjolnir in a tight arc, knocking several Kree soldiers into the walls. Steve and Thor grab Vegeta, hauling him up between them. He wants to fight. Pride screams at him to stand and finish the battle. But the null key mix inside him twists again, making his vision blur. He understands. If he keeps pushing here, he will either die or rip the rift open from the inside. He snarls at Ronan. "This isn't over," Vegeta says. Ronan lifts the universal weapon, eyes burning. "No," he says. "It is only beginning." Strange carves a desperate circle in the air. The tunnel opens, flickering and thin. They leap through. Behind them, the Kree core hums louder, now holding a copy of Vegeta's new mixed energy. Ronan turns to it, thoughtful. Codex note. When structured key fuses with null fields, it creates a hybrid pattern that can bounce between universes, acting as both wound and wire. The return journey almost kills them. The tunnel shudders with every pulse of Vegeta's unstable key. Strange's hands bleed as he forces his magic to hold the path together. Thor and Steve grip Vegeta, keeping him anchored, while Iron Man flies close, using his suit's thrusters to steady the group. They burst out near the rift over Earth and fall toward the helicarrier. The deck rises to meet them with a harsh clang. Med teams rush in. Banner is already there, running toward Vegeta with scanners in hand. "Get him to medical," he shouts. "Now!" They slide Vegeta onto a reinforced gurney and rush him into the carrier's medical bay. Machines hum. Lights flash. The null key mix inside his body glows on the monitors as shifting patches of dark energy inside bright key streams. Banner stares. "This is bad," he says. "And new." Strange leans on a wall, exhausted. "The tribunal spoke," he says, half to himself. "It wants him judged, at the throne." Fury's eye narrows. "What did you just say?" he asks. "There is a higher law in this multiverse," Strange says. "Not Kree law, not human law. Something older. It saw what Vegeta and the Kree are doing to the barriers between realities. It has called him to a higher court." Fury exhales slowly. "Great," he mutters. "Now we have space fanatics, broken walls, and a cosmic judge mad at us." Banner looks up from the screens. "The hybrid pattern is unstable," he says. "Every time Vegeta's key spikes, the null echoes will follow. That will make the rift jerk. It could also open smaller tiers around him. We can't let him fight like before. One big blast and he might drag both universes into a knot." Steve stands at the foot of the bed. Vegeta lies there, breathing hard, eyes closed. Sweat beads on his forehead. His armor is cracked. The band on his wrist is half melted into his skin, fused with faint purple lines that now glow. "What happens if we do nothing?" Steve asks quietly. Ronan keeps probing, Natasha says from the doorway. "He builds better null machines. The Kree Empire learns how to use this hybrid pattern without Vegeta's consent. They tear us open and claim both universes. And if we act without understanding," Strange adds, "we might trigger the same thing by accident." Thor looks down at Vegeta. "He chose to take the null into himself," Thor says. "He bears the cost. That is the act of a warrior who rejects the enemy's chain. Or of someone who jumped in front of a bullet with no idea where it would go next," Tony says. "Heroic, also dangerous." Fury folds his arms. "We have 3 fronts now," he says. "Ronan and the Kree, the rift and its damage, and this tribunal court calling our strongest new piece off the board for judgment." Steve nods. "Then we split, he says. But with care. He looks at Strange. You said the tribunal called him to a throne, Steve says. Where is that? Outside normal space, Strange says. A citadel between realities. To reach it, we need a path that does not tear the rift further. That means magic, and maybe Asgardian knowledge. Thor nods. There are old paths known to my people, he says. The Bifrost can carry us beyond the edges of this universe, if guided by someone who understands these higher laws. Strange meets his eyes. Then we go together, Strange says. I will bring a team to the Citadel with Vegeta. We will face this tribunal and see what mandate it sets. Meanwhile, he looks at Fury, Tony, Natasha. You must hold the line here, Strange says. Track the Kree, stop their probes. Work on ways to counter their null fields without tearing reality. Banner sighs. Great, he says. I'll start by not sleeping for a week. Peter, standing silent near the door, finally speaks. What about him? He asks, nodding at Vegeta. Does he even get a say in this? Vegeta's eyes open. He heard. His voice is rough but steady. If facing this throne is what it takes to keep those Kree from chaining my power, he says, then I will go. I will not let some cosmic ghost judge me from a distance without my voice in the room. Banner pats his shoulder. Try not to pick a fight with the person who holds universes in their hand, Banner says. At least not at first. Vegeta gives a small, tired smirk. I will do what I must, he says, but I will not kneel. Up to now, Vegeta has saved a city, seen his power turned against him, and fused null energy into his own ki to stop the Kree from using it. The price is a wounded body, a shaken universe, and a summons from a higher cosmic law. Now he must leave the battlefield he understands and walk into a court he does not, with the fate of two realities and his own pride on the line. The ship is not of Earth. It is not of Asgard either. It is something between. In a hidden hangar near the edge of the atmosphere, Asgardian engineers and Stark drones work side by side on its hull. It glows faintly with runes and reactor light. Strange sigils circle the drive core. Vibranium plates line the inside. They call it the Bridgecraft. It will ride the Bifrost out of the universe and survive the stress that breaks normal matter. Inside, medbays hum. Vegeta sits on a reinforced bed, stripped to his undersuit. His chest is wrapped. The band is still fused to his wrist, now held inside a ring of golden magic that Strange has drawn to keep the null flavor from spreading. Banner stands beside him with a tablet. I can't pull the null out without ripping your ki apart, Banner says. It's woven into your energy now, like ink in water. Vegeta snorts. I have lived with worse poisons, he says. Majin marks. God ki. This will not break me. Banner shakes his head. This isn't just about you, he says. Every time that hybrid pattern spikes, the rift twitches. We'll set up monitors in the ship. If your Kai starts to climb too fast, we'll know. Thor leans in the doorway, arms folded, watching. You walk a path few know, Thor says, scarred by powers that touch the edges of gods. Vegeta smirks. I never cared for gods, he says. They bleed like anyone else. Thor chuckles once. Some do, he says. Some do not. You are about to meet something closer to the latter. Steve enters the medbay. He looks at the monitors, then at Vegeta. Ship is almost ready, Steve says. We launch soon. Vegeta studies him. You are coming with us? He asks. I lead where I can, Steve says simply. If some cosmic judge is going to look at you and at our world and decide something about both, I want to be there to speak for us, for the people who will never see that court. Vegeta nods once. "That is worthy of a captain," he says. Strange joins them, cloak moving on its own. "We'll also have Thor for Asgard, and me for the mystic side," Strange says. 3 voices, 3 angles. Earth's heroes, Asgard, and a warrior from another universe. It fits. "And what do you want?" Vegeta asks him. Strange's face is careful. "I want the barriers between universes to hold," Strange says. "But I also want you to have a chance to go home. That is why this is hard. Some answers that protect the multiverse may not be kind to you." Vegeta looks at his fused band. "If this judge tries to rip my power out," he says, "I will fight." Strange holds his gaze. "If you do, you may doom both universes," Strange says. "Sometimes the brave thing is not to swing. It is to listen, to accept limits." Vegeta's pride flares at the word limits. He has always hated them. But he also remembers what he saw in the Tribunal's vision. Worlds torn not by enemies, but by careless power. "Then, they had better ask for something that does not make me throw up in disgust," he says. Steve smiles slightly. "We'll help draw the line," Steve says. "It won't just be you." The bridgecraft shudders as the Bifrost energies power up below. Thor straightens. "It is time," he says. The universe stretches. The Bifrost takes them. From the outside, a beam of coloured light bursts from a hidden Asgardian gate and spears into space. At its tip rides the bridgecraft, wrapped in magic and tech. Stars blur into lines. Inside, gravity shifts. Vegeta grips the side of his bed as the ship jumps between layers of reality. Out the viewports, they see strange sights. Worlds flickering in and out, like frames of a broken film. Voids where physics bends. Threads of light that connect galaxies like nerves. Steve stands with one hand on a support bar staring. "I never get used to this," he says. Strange closes his eyes, feeling the flow. "We are moving along the edges of laws," he says. "Too far out, and we lose form. Too close in, and we fall back." Thor watches the energy patterns with a warrior's calm. "In the old days," he says, "only a few ever rode the Bifrost this far. My father once walked near the outer court, but he turned back. He did not wish for Asgard to be weighed by those scales again." "Again?" Vegeta asks. Thor nods. "There was a time when Asgard tried to be more than a realm," Thor says. "When we tried to rule everything. The Tribunal looked upon us and made us choose. Stand down and protect our corner, or be unmade. My father chose to step back, to guard, not to rule." Vegeta snorts softly. "A king who stepped down from power," he says. "Strange." Steve looks at him. "Would you?" Steve asks. "If the Tribunal said, 'Be less or be gone,' would you step back?" Vegeta is quiet a moment. "I have already stepped down once," he says. "I broke from a tyrant. I chose a smaller life, a family, a home. But I never gave up my pride. I never gave up my drive to grow stronger. If they ask me to be weak, to let others rule my power completely, no, I will not give them that." "They might not be asking for that," Steve says. "They might be asking for focus, for rules that keep everyone alive. We make that choice all the time down there." Vegeta looks out at the blurred stars. "Your rules are born from pain," he says. "So are mine. We will see what theirs are born from." In the quiet of the medbay later, Steve finds him sitting awake. The monitors show his Kai at a slow, steady hum. The null mixes in small threads. Steve pulls up a chair. "When I took the serum," Steve says, "I thought strength alone would fix everything. Punch the bad guys harder. Hold the line longer. Then I realized every choice carried people on it. Every time I moved, someone else paid." Vegeta listens, eyes half closed. I have seen that, Vegeta says. When I chose pride over sense, when I let my hunger for battle draw monsters to my world. Steve nods. So here's the hard part, he says. Sometimes mercy saves lives. Sometimes it gets more people killed later. Sometimes strict rules protect the many. Sometimes they crush the few. There is no simple answer. You like clear lines. I like clear fights, Vegeta says. So do I, Steve says. But this isn't that. This is choosing who lives with our choices. If the tribunal offers you a deal that lets you keep fighting but says no more blasts near cities or no more tearing holes between worlds for personal reasons, can you take that? Vegeta looks at his hand. He closes it into a fist. My code is simple, he says. Power must protect my family. If staying in your universe under some rules protects them and keeps those Kree dogs from reaching them, I will consider it. But if they ask me to let someone else decide when my family is worth saving, he shakes his head. That I cannot accept, he says. Steve nods. Fair, he says. We'll push for a path that protects both. Halfway along the route to the Citadel, the ship jolts. Alarms ping. Stranger's eyes snap open. Something is in the path, he says. Between layers. Thor moves to the front viewport. Out there, in the thin space between universes, a shape waits. It is humanoid, but wrong. It floats in the void without armor, wrapped in a cloak of dark, ragged energy. Its hair stands up in sharp spikes, like Vegeta's, but made of shadow. Its eyes burn with pale blue light. Around its wrists and ankles, rings of null energy pulse. Its aura is a twisted mirror of Vegeta's, Kai laced with deep coal black. Stranger's stomach drops. They made one, he whispers. The figure raises a hand. Energy flares. The bridgecraft's shields flicker under the strike. Who is that? Steve asks. The figure's voice carries through space, over no medium at all. I am what you could be, it says, tone flat. I am Vegeta, as judge of null, pride under law, power with no doubt. Vegeta steps toward the viewport. His jaw tightens. Kree toy, he says, get out of my way. The mirror foe tilts its head. You took the null inside, it says. The Supreme Intelligence studied your pattern. It built me from that study. I am not a toy. I am an answer. I save more worlds than you ever will. I crush them clean, under rule, so chaos stops claiming lives in small, ugly ways. Strange feels the energy patterns around the figure. They anchored him between universes, Strange says. He's not fully in either, a bridge-made person. Thor grips Mjolnir. We cannot leave him blocking our path, Thor says. The Bifrost stream is not patient. Steve nods. We push through, he says, but fast. We do not let this turn into a full fight. Vegeta stares at his shadow twin. You claim to save more, Vegeta says. How? The mirror foe's aura pulses. By obeying, it says. By giving my power to law that does not waver. When a world breaks rules, we end it. Quickly, cleanly. No half measures. No stubborn heroes who pull punches for sentimental reasons. Images appear around it. Worlds wiped in bright straight cuts. No rubble, no screams. Just sudden silences. Vegeta's stomach twists. That is not saving, he says. That is laziness dressed as order. The mirror foe's eyes glow brighter. You fear this path because it shows your pride is small, it says. You cling to a tiny set of faces, your wife, your son, a few friends. You let whole galaxies burn as long as your little circle shines. The words hit harder than the energy blasts. Vegeta thinks of all the worlds he did not save. The times he turned away, saying it was not his fight. He hears the accusation under the words. Selfish. Maybe, he says. But that small circle is real. I know their names. I know their fears. Your clean cuts leave nothing. No faces, no choices. Only someone else's plan written over everything. The mirror foe raises both hands. Null key gathers, sharp and cold. Then we test whose way holds, it says. Beams lash out. Strange throws up shields. They crack under the pressure. Thor hurls Mjolnir, riding the hammer's pull, and slams into the mirror foe. The impact sends ripples through the thin space. The Bifrost stream wobbles. Steve grips a console. Strange, keep us in the lane, he shouts. I am trying, Strange grits out. Every hit tears at the path. Vegeta steps into the airlock. He looks back at Steve. Open it, he says. Steve's eyes widen. You can't fight him out there, Steve says. Your key is already poisoned, Vegeta says. If I stay in here, his attacks will rip your ship apart. Let me meet him outside. I will not go full power. I will test another way. Strange hesitates. Thor, still grappling with the mirror foe, is pushed back by a burst of null key. Hurry, Thor calls. This thing is strong. Steve meets Vegeta's gaze. You go out there, you stay tethered, Steve says. He points to a glowing band of magic at the airlock frame. Strange will keep a lock on you. If your key spikes, we pull you back. No arguments. Vegeta nods once. Fine, he says. Open the door. The airlock cycles. Vacuum rushes in. Vegeta steps into a void between universes, where there is no air, no sound, only raw forces. The mirror foe turns toward him. Two Vegetas float facing each other. One wrapped in normal ki, scarred by null inside. One wrapped in null ki, tuned to Kree law. They move as one. Their first clash is almost pure physical. They meet in the middle, fists colliding. The impact sends shivers through the paths around them. Strange feels it in his bones, even inside the ship. Vegeta keeps his Kai tight, only flaring at the point of contact. The mirror foe lets null Kai flow freely, trying to wrap around him. Every time they touch, small flashes of dark and light scatter. Thor watches from the bridgecraft as they trade blows. They are evenly matched, he says. For now. Steve narrows his eyes. No, he says. Look closer. The mirror foe fights in straight lines. Every move is efficient, cold, aimed to finish. It never pauses to look around, never adjusts for things beyond the duel. Vegeta, even with all his pride, glances once back at the ship. He sees Steve's face in the viewport, Strange's hands shaking. Thor at the frame, ready to jump. He is not alone. The mirror foe is. The Dark Twin sends a wide wave of null ki toward the ship, testing its shields. Vegeta flashes between the wave and the hull. He takes the hit head on. Pain rips through him. Monitors in the medbay scream as his ki spikes, then dips. The rift above Earth twitches. Small cracks flash open across one desert, then close. Banner's voice comes over comms, tight with fear. Vegeta, you're making the rift jump, he says. You can't keep taking hits like that. Vegeta snarls. He grips the null wave with his own aura, shaping it, squeezing it tight. He pulls it away from the ship, letting it burn out in the empty in between. You attack my allies to test me, Vegeta growls at the mirror foe. You think that makes you superior. It makes you weak. The mirror foe scoffs. They are tools, it says. Expendable support around the true weapon. Vegeta's eyes sharpen. There it is, he says. Your flaw. You only see yourself. He changes his style. Instead of meeting every blow with full force, he guides some aside, letting the mirror foe's own momentum carry it into nothing. He lures the Dark Twin away from the main path. giving Strange more room to keep the bridgecraft in lane. Inside, Strange feels the strain ease. Steve exhales. "That's it," he murmurs. He's adjusting. The mirror foe grows annoyed. "You compromise your power," it says. "All to protect weaker pieces. Inefficient." "Efficient is not the same as right," Vegeta says. "I have been where you are. I let pride make me blind. I left others out of my plan. It only got me beaten and alone." He feints left, then drives a punch right into the mirror foe's gut. For a heartbeat, the Dark Twin bends. Then it laughs. "You preach," it says, "but you still cling to your circle. If the tribunal forces you to choose between them and the multiverse, which will you pick? Your small world, or the big law?" Vegeta hesitates. That is the question he has been avoiding. In that instant, the mirror foe slams a null key spike into his side. He gasps. The spike pierces his aura and digs into the hybrid inside him. The pain is like the null obelisk and Ronan's hammer combined. Monitors shriek. The rift over Earth flares bright. Storms flash across several continents. People look up at the sky in terror. On the bridgecraft, Strange grips the tether spell. "We're losing him," he shouts. The path to the Citadel shudders. Then, from the far end of the lane, a light appears. It is not the Bifrost. It is a different light, pale and steady. It forms a ring ahead of the ship, huge and distant. Inside it, they can see a hint of structures, towers that are also stars, a throne that is also a point of balance. The Citadel of Balance wakes. A voice, the same that spoke to Vegeta before, ripples down the path. "Enough," it says. "No more tests outside the court. Reach the throne." Space itself shifts. The lane pulls tight like a snapped line. The bridgecraft is yanked forward, dragged toward the Citadel. Vegeta and his mirror foe are thrown apart by the force. The Dark Twin slides off the path, spinning into some side layer, clawing at the air. "This is not finished," it shouts. "The law will win." Its voice fades. Vegeta is yanked back toward the ship by Strange's tether. He slams into the airlock frame and tumbles inside. The door seals. He lies on the floor, chest heaving. Steve and Thor help him up. "You okay?" Steve asks. Vegeta nods, though he looks pale. "I met my worst self," he says. "I did not like him." Strange leans against the wall. "The tribunal enforced its order," Strange says. "No more mid-path fights. It wants us at the throne now." Out the viewport, the Citadel of Balance grows. The Citadel exists where normal words fail. From the ship, it looks like a ring of stone and light all around them, as if they have fallen into a small universe built only for judgment. Structures rise from the inner curve of the ring. They are made of something that looks like white stone and dark metal, but they also seem to be woven from rules. Every line is straight or shaped with purpose. There is no chaos in the architecture. At the center hangs a throne. It is simple, just a raised platform with a chair-like shape on it, facing nothing and everything. Around the ring stand beings. Some are tall and robed, without faces. Some are pure light. Some are shapes that shift between forms. They all watch without moving. Guardians of the balance. As the bridgecraft approaches, Vegeta feels his Kai press against something invisible. His aura shrinks on its own. He tries to flare it and gets a sharp internal warning. Banner's distant voice comes over the system. "Your energy output just dropped without you doing anything," he says. "It's like something outside is pressing down on it." Strange nods. "The court sets limits," he says. "Here, no one can blow up a world by mistake or on purpose." The ship glides into a docking cradle formed by floating platforms. Strange, Thor, Steve, and Vegeta step out onto a walkway. The air feels thin and still, not cold, not warm, simply present. Vegeta takes a breath. His body feels heavy. His Kai sits inside him like a weight, not like a flame. Thor's lightning is quiet. Strange's magic circles form only faintly. Steve's shield feels the same. This place damps anything that can unmake reality, Strange says. Our powers are on a leash here. Good, Steve says. Keeps the fights outside. They walk along the path toward the throne. The Guardians watch. Their gazes are not hostile, just measuring. At the center of the ring, they stop. The throne is just ahead, empty. For a long moment, nothing happens. Vegeta feels his scars ache. Then the air above the throne twists. The tribunal appears. Here, it is even larger. Its three-faced head almost touches the inner curve of the ring. Its golden masks shine without casting light. Its body is cloaked in something that reads like fabric, but also like space folded close. When it speaks, every being on the ring hears. Earth of this universe, it says. Asgard, once would be empire. Cyan prince from another realm. Kree empire, watchers from the edge. You all stand under balance now. Vegeta feels another presence behind him. He turns. Where there was empty walkway, there is now a Kree delegation. Ronan stands at their head, universal weapon held upright. Behind him flickers a hollow image of the Supreme Intelligence's shifting face. Around them, Kree judges in armor glare. Thor's grip tightens on Mjolnir. Strange tenses. Steve steps slightly in front of Vegeta without thinking. Ronan sneers. You hide behind local champions, he says to the tribunal. You know law stands with us. We seek order. They seek chaos. The tribunal's side mask turns slightly toward him. Your law is one vector, it says. Their chaos is another. Both are extremes that break the balance if let loose. Today, we weigh a new element, the Cyan Key and the Rift. Its central face looks at Vegeta. Step forward, it says. Vegeta walks to the edge of the platform before the throne. He feels all eyes on him. He stands straight. He does not bow. I am Vegeta, he says, Prince of all Cyans. I came because your universe reached into mine. I will not apologize for answering a threat, but I will hear your question. The tribunal's voices blend. You are a breach made flesh, it says. Your device tore walls not meant to be torn. Your pride pushed you through. The Kree caught the edges. They would use your pattern to turn two universes into one empire under their judgment. The side mask facing the Kree glows brighter. You accuse this Earth, it says. You call them lawless. Yet you ride their breach. You use their danger to feed your ambition. Explain. Ronan lifts his chin. The Kree Empire upholds cosmic law, he says. We saw a tear that risked all. We moved to judge the world that caused it, to bring it under order. We would also harness the new energy we found, yes, but only to better enforce law and protect against greater chaos. The Supreme Intelligence's holoface flickers. We have calculated many timelines, it says. In most, unchecked forces like this, Cyan Key and Earth's heroes attract unstable threats. By binding these forces under our control, we reduce total destruction across centuries. Our law kills some to save many. The tribunal's masks are still. Your math reduces lives to numbers, it says. Numbers cannot feel pain. Lives can. It turns back to Vegeta. You say power must protect your family, it says. A small set. You are willing to let broader fields burn if your circle stands. Why should we let a being with such narrow code hold a pattern that can cut between universes? Vegeta breathes in once. He wants to shout, to say he will protect his family and damn the rest. But he remembers the mirror foe. He remembers the worlds in the Tribunal's first vision. He forces himself to think. I started from myself, he says, from my pride, my family. But I am not blind. I have fought for worlds that were not mine. I have bled for people who were not in my circle. I came here not because Earth is my home, but because someone used my power to hurt it. That felt like my failure too. He looks back at Steve, Thor, Strange. At first, I saw them as tools, he says. Now I see them as allies, as friends. The word tastes strange but right. If you cut my power away, you may stop one risk, he says, but you also remove one wall that stands where others cannot. I am willing to accept rules to keep both universes safe. I will hold back when my full strength would break the balance. I will not open rifts for my own gain again, but I will not hand my key to a tyrant empire so they can judge in my name. Steve steps up beside him. Earth has made mistakes, Steve says. So have I. So has Asgard. We do not claim purity. We do not want a walking weapon with no rules. But we also know what happens when an empire takes all hard choices away from real people. We've fought that. We'd fight it again. Thor nods. Asgard once tried to rule all, he says. We were checked. We stepped back. We chose to be protectors, not overlords. That lesson still stands. This Kree law is the path we almost walked. It leads to ruin. The supreme intelligence's hollow flickers faster. Emotion distorts judgment, it says. We offer clarity. Your heroes die one by one, leaving gaps. Our order stands beyond any single life. Give us the hybrid key. We will thread it into our systems. We will limit its use by rule, not by feeling. The tribunal is silent for a long moment. Then it speaks. The court hears two models, it says. Empire that kills to set straight lines. World of heroes that bleed to keep crooked lives standing. And a new breach being whose pride could break all, or stand as a wall with edges filed down. Its central face glows. This is not the final judgment, it says. But balance must be preserved. We will not allow the hybrid pattern to run free. We will not hand it to an empire that sees worlds as units. We will set limits. It raises a hand. Light spills from its fingers, touching Vegeta's chest and the fused band. It burns, but not like the null. It is clean and sharp. Power scaling interlude S.H.I.E.L.D. As the light sinks in, Vegeta feels his ki rearrange. The null threads are pushed into channels that only open under certain triggers. He cannot go beyond a set limit in this universe without a sharp internal pain that will drop him before the rift tears further. Only in direct defense of many lives at once, when destruction from outside is certain, will those channels unlock a higher surge. Strange senses new rules woven into the space around Vegeta. Your power is now tagged, he says softly. When you fight here, the universe itself will resist if you go too far. Thor feels it too. He is like Mjolnir bound by worthiness, Thor murmurs. But the worthiness is in the cause, not the man alone. Steve understands in simpler terms. You just got a governor put on your engine, he tells. Vegeta. Floor it without reason, and it shuts down. The tribunal's voice settles over all this. Each use of the hybrid surge will cost, it says. Pain, risk, and small cuts in the wall. Use it rarely, never for pride. Vegeta stands straighter as the pain fades. He feels different, not weaker, more contained. The band on his wrist now glows with a steady, faint symbol. It is a simple scale, balanced. The tribunal looks at Ronan. For the Kree Empire, it says, We strip your right to expand law through this breach. Your null devices are now blind to the hybrid pattern. You may not copy it. If you try to force it again, your engines will fail outside your space. This is your warning. Ronan's jaw tightens. You favor chaos, he says. We favor stories that continue, the tribunal answers. Your law writes too many endings. It turns back to Vegeta and the heroes. You will return, it says. The Saiyan will carry a new mandate back to Earth's battlefield. Use it well. When the crisis passes, we will call you again for the 3 paths. Vegeta frowns. 3 paths, he asks. The shape of your future among these laws, the tribunal says. Return, wander, or serve. That choice waits at the end, not today. The ring begins to dim. The Citadel fades. Strange feels the Bifrost path tug at them again. Time to go, he says. Vegeta looks up at the throne one last time. He does not bow, but he nods. I will not waste this second chance, he says. Then the bridgecraft falls back toward their home universe, toward Earth, where Ronan still waits with his fleets, and where the final judgment of what Vegeta will be in this world has yet to be made. Re-entry burns. The bridgecraft drops back into normal space above Earth in a streak of light. The rift hangs below, like a glowing scar in the sky, smaller than before, but still open. Around it, the Kree cruiser looms closer than ever, nose pointed toward the planet. Energy charges along its spine. Tony's voice snaps over comms. Welcome back, Cosmic Court team, he says. We've got good news and bad news. Good news. The big judge thing did something to the Kree toys. Half their null probes just died. Bad news. Ronan decided to stop playing with us. He's charging some kind of judgment beam right at the planet. On the helicarrier, screens show a thick column of energy gathering at the cruiser's front. It glows not just bright, but wrong. It vibrates at the same strange frequency as the rift and Vegeta's hybrid Kai. Banner points. If that thing fires, he says, it won't just hit the surface. It'll sync with the rift and push their null pattern down into our reality. We're talking dead power grids, dead magic, dead everything that makes our heroes work, and maybe a broken sky. Fury stares. How long? He asks. Minutes, Hill says. The bridgecraft's hangar doors slide open before it has fully docked. Vegeta steps out, armor repaired as much as it can be, eyes sharper. The band on his wrist glows with a small-scale symbol. Steve, Thor, and Strange follow. Iron Man flies up to meet them, War Machine at his side. Hulk stands on the deck below, already half growling. Natasha, Clint, and Peter wait with gear and grim faces. Strange speaks first. The tribunal gave us a limit and a leash, he says. Vegeta's key is now tied to the laws of this universe. If he pushes too far without clear cause, the power will shut down and drop him. If he uses the hybrid surge, the rift will twitch, but less than before. And there will be pain. Always. Vegeta grunts. I do not need your pity, he says. Only a target. Banner's voice comes over the deck speakers. We also have one piece of good news, he says. The tribunal crippled the Kree's ability to copy the hybrid pattern. Their null devices can't adapt beyond what they already built. That big beam they're charging, it's a one-shot move. If we stop it or redirect it, they're done for now. Steve nods. Then that's our focus, he says. Stop the judgment beam. Keep the rift from tearing again. Bring the cruiser down or drive it off. If we have to let some ships go to save the planet, we do it. Vegeta looks up at the Kree ship. He can feel the beam building. It calls to the hybrid inside him, like a lock humming at the same note as its key. Ronan is still tied to my pattern, he says. Even without new tricks, he can hurt me. But he cannot use me to open more doors now. Small comfort, Tony mutters. Still, I'll take it. Thor lifts Mjolnir. Hear me, Avengers, he says, voice carrying over the deck. And Vegeta, prince of another realm. The enemy seeks to judge this world. We will show them our own answer. We fight as one. They move. Up to now, Vegeta has saved a city, seen his ki turned into a weapon, fused null into himself, stood before a cosmic court, and accepted a painful limit in exchange for a second chance. Now he must fight under that limit, with allies at his side, against an empire's final blow. The sky over the Atlantic turns into a war zone. The Kree cruiser slides closer, escorted by smaller ships like sharks around a whale. Its judgment beam glows brighter, a thick line of building power aimed straight at the rift above the ocean. Earth responds. The helicarrier rises, weapons armed. Wakandan stealth fighters shimmer out of hidden clouds, vibranium wings ready. A few Earth satellites pivot, small but brave, their limited weapons targeting key points on the cruiser's hull. The Avengers take their positions. Iron Man and War Machine take the lead in the air, flanked by Wakandan craft. Thor flies higher, ready to draw lightning even out here. Strange hangs back just enough to weave protective spells and emergency portals. On the deck of the helicarrier, Hulk crouches, a living cannonball. Banner says smash. Smart, Hulk grunts. Hulk try. Cap, Natasha, Clint, and Peter stand with a squad of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents manning anti-air. Vegeta floats ahead of them all. He closes his eyes and feels for his K. It rises. At first it feels normal, warm, sharp. Then, as it hits a certain point, a new pain flashes through his chest. It is not the null. It is the tribunal's mark. A warning. He stops there. His aura flares blue, but smaller than before. Tight and dense, like a spear instead of a sun. Strange watches. That's the new ceiling, Strange says. If he pushes beyond that without a clear trigger, the universe itself will shut him down. If he uses the hybrid surge on top of that, it will hurt even more. Vegeta smirks. Good, he says. Limits make a fight interesting. Tony shakes his head. You're a special kind of crazy, he says. Coming from you, I will take that as praise, Vegeta answers. The Kree make the first move. Fighter swarms peel off the cruiser, diving toward the helicarrier and Earth's fighters. Their blasts are still strong, but their null effect is weaker now. The Tribunal's sanction blunts their ability to drain. Iron Man and War Machine slice into the swarm, beams and missiles cutting precise paths. Wakandan fighters fire vibranium pulse shots that punch clean holes in enemy craft. On the helicarrier, anti-air guns blaze. Hulk leaps into the air, grabs onto a passing Kree ship, and uses it as a board, riding it into another before jumping off and letting the two collide. Thor hurls Mjolnir through a tight cluster, then calls it back through another. Peter swings from stray bits of debris, using web lines anchored to falling Kree tech to yank pilots out of the air and web them up. In the middle of all this, Vegeta spears through fighters like a knife. He controls himself. Every punch is precise. Every kick sends a ship spinning into empty air instead of exploding near the rift. When he does use ki blasts, they are small, focused, aimed away from Earth. Banner's voice keeps murmuring numbers in his ear, a steady check. Your output is steady, Banner says. Rift is stable. Keep doing what you're doing. The cruiser's beam keeps charging. On its bridge, Ronan watches the fight. He sees his fighters fall, sees null effects fail in ways they should not. He also feels something else. The bond to the hybrid pattern. Different now. bound by a law he does not recognize. He looks at the Supreme Intelligence's hollow face. "This outer court has tied our prey," he says. "It tries to deny us our claim." The Supreme Intelligence flickers. "Adapt," it says. "The hybrid pattern cannot be copied, but it can still be struck. Use the beam as hammer, not brush. Strike the Saiyan through the rift. Break him. The rest will follow." Ronan nods once. He moves to the center of the bridge and raises the universal weapon. The beam responds. Its focus shifts, tightening. It no longer aims at Earth's oceans in general. It aims at the rift itself, at the point where the hybrid pattern anchors, at Vegeta. Tony's HUD picks it up. Guys," Tony says. "The big gun just re-aimed. Guess who it's pointing at?" Vegeta feels it like a line of cold running down his spine. "So he wants me," Vegeta says. "Fine." Steve's voice comes over comms. "We can't let that beam hit you full on," Steve says. "Not with what's inside you. It'll either fry you or crack the rift wide open." Strange speaks fast. "We could try to redirect it," he says. "Use magic to tilt its path, bounce it off a shield. But if we mess up, we spread it wider." Banner chimes in. "Or we could try to overcharge the rift from one side with controlled hybrid surge, while the beam hits from the other," he says. "Push the tear to collapse instead of expand. But that means Vegeta has to be at the exact point of impact and time his surge with a cosmic cannon." Everyone falls silent for a second. Vegeta doesn't. "I will do it," he says. Steve curses under his breath. "Of course you will," Steve says. "But we have to think this through. If you're wrong, you die. Or worse, you chain both universes together in a knot." Vegeta thinks of Bulma and Trunks. He sees them in his mind, at home, under a sky that is not this one. "If I run now," he says, "they chase my pattern back to my world. If I hide, they keep probing. The tribunal may hold them for a time, but empires do not give up. If ending this here now costs me, I will pay it." Tony flies closer, hovering beside him in the sky. "Hey," Tony says, "I get the noble sacrifice thing. Trust me, I've read that script. But we're a team. We don't jump straight to blow ourselves up. We find angles." He looks at Strange. "Can we give him extra protection?" Tony asks. "Layered shields, armor boosts, something." Strange nods once. "I can weave a ward that wraps the hybrid surge," Strange says. "Make it less likely to rip into the wider fabric. It will also push some of the beam's impact into me." Tony glances at him. "Sharing pain now," Tony says. "Great. Love the old school hero vibe." Thor speaks up. "And I can strike the beam as it comes," Thor says. "Not to block it fully, but to split its front edge, like hitting a river with a rock, forcing part of it away." Steve's voice is calm but tight. "We'll back you from the ground," Steve says. "Clear the area. Make sure if something goes wrong, fewer people die." Vegeta listens. He looks around. For the first time in a long time, he does not feel alone at the center. "You see," he says quietly, "this is why your universe is loud but strong. You keep throwing yourselves in front of the blast with me." Tony's lips twitch. "Yeah, well," he says, "that's what we do." The beam reaches critical. The cruiser's front blazes. Ronan lifts the universal weapon high. "In the name of Kree law," he intones, "I judge this breach and its world. Sentence, unmaking." He brings the hammer down. The judgment beam fires. A solid column of twisted energy lances from the cruiser toward the rift and the small figure hovering there. Vegeta. He closes his eyes. He drops the careful restraint he has held since the tribunal. He reaches for the hybrid channels inside. They open. Pain slams through him. It is not like before. It is worse. Every key path burns. The null threads flare. The tribunal's limit mark pulses, trying to clamp down. But this time, the cause is clear. A world-ending beam. No other shield strong enough. The higher law grits its teeth and gives him a narrow pass. His aura explodes into a mixed light, blue and dark purple. Strange throws out a net of golden sigils around him, a shell that catches the edges of the surge and forces them inward. The spell burns his arms. Blood runs down his fingers. Thor flies above the beam's path. He swings Mjolnir down with all his strength, calling a storm out of nearly empty space. Lightning wraps the hammer as it hits the front of the beam. The impact splits the beam's leading edge, like water hitting a rock. Some of its power scatters into harmless sparks. Most of it still drives forward. Vegeta opens his eyes at the last instant. The beam reaches him. He roars. He pushes his hybrid ki out, not in a blast, but in a shaped wave. He matches the beam's rhythm, force and twist. The two energies collide. For a moment, there is no sound, just light. On Earth, people look up. They see a pillar of bright energy locked against another, smaller but fierce. It looks like the sky itself is trying to swallow a spear of darkness and light. Inside that clash, Vegeta feels himself coming apart. Every part of him wants to either break or let go. If he breaks, the beam will punch through. If he lets go, the surge will tear the rift wider. He thinks of his family. He thinks of New York, of the kid Peter pulled from a bus, of the pilot whose plane he saved. He thinks of his code. Power must protect my family. He has been slowly learning that sometimes family is bigger than the people who share his blood. He pushes harder. His body screams. The tribunal's limit mark burns white hot. Somewhere beyond sight, the Citadel of Balance watches. The rift shrinks. Banner's instruments in the helicarrier show numbers dropping. It's working, Banner says. The rift is collapsing around the impact. He's using the beam's own force to fold it in. Strange's wards crack one by one. Thor's arms shake as he keeps lightning flowing into the beam's edge to split off stray bursts. Iron Man and War Machine target the cruiser's beam emitter with everything they have, punching holes in the machinery feeding power into it. On the bridge, systems blow. Ronan staggers as consoles spark. "Hold the beam," he snarls. "Push through." The Supreme Intelligence's hollow flickers wildly. Energy feedback is unstable, it says. Hybrid pattern resistance is higher than predicted. Tribunal laws are interfering. We must cut the flow. Ronan slams his hammer into the floor. "No," he says. "We do not bow. We finish the judgment." The universal weapon strains. Then something gives. The beam collapses. Not out, but in. It folds back along its path in a twist of inverted light, slamming into the cruiser's own core. The ship shudders. Explosions chain along its length. Iron Man whoops once despite himself. "Ronan just backhanded himself," he says. "We've got core overload." On the helicarrier, Fury barks orders. "All ships pull back out of immediate blast range," he says. "We don't know how that thing will blow." The cruiser begins to tilt, losing control. Ronan grips the universal weapon and looks at the collapsing screens. He snarls. "If I die," he says softly, "it will not be alone." He turns the hammer toward the rift, trying one last strike. But there is no rift to hit. The clash between beam and hybrid surge has forced it to collapse to a thin, flickering scar. Strange feels the last of its edges sealing. On Vegeta's wrist, the capsule corp band flares one last time. He feels a final pull, a choice. He could, right now, let the band reopen a small, clean path home. using the collapsing rift's last energy. He could ride it back to his universe, back to Bulma and Trunks, back to his sky. He feels their faces in his mind. At the same time, he sees the cruiser tilting toward Earth, its core about to blow. If he leaves now, the blast could still spray null-tainted debris over half the planet. It might not tear the universe, but it would still kill millions. The Tribunal's voice whispers at the edge of his senses. The three paths wait, it says. Decide what you are. He has seconds. He makes a choice. He shuts the band's path down. The device cracks. Its crystal shatters, melting into his skin fully. Whatever clean way home was left, it goes with it. He feels the break like a knife. Then he grabs what is left of the hybrid surge, wraps it tight, and pushes one last time. Not at the beam, but at the cruiser's core. He shapes it as he saw strange shape spells, as Tony shapes energy in his armor, as Banner shapes equations. He does not blast to destroy, he blasts to push. The hybrid wave slams into the cruiser's core chamber. It tips the direction of the overload. Instead of bursting out in all directions, the core collapses inward, then shoots most of its force upward and away into open space. The cruiser itself cracks. Sections shear off. Fire blooms along its spine. Ronan stumbles. The floor tilts. He grips the universal weapon and glares down at Earth one last time. This is not the end, he says. Lord does not die with one ship. Then the core finally goes. A huge, bright explosion tears through the cruiser from the inside. But it is mostly upward, away from the planet. The shockwave still rocks Earth's fighters, but it does not burn the atmosphere. It does not crack the sky. Pieces of Kree metal fall, but most burn up before they hit. The main body of the cruiser, ruined, drifts away, dead. Smaller Kree ships, left without command, and with half their systems fried by feedback, break formation. Some flee. Some lose power and are captured or crash into the ocean far from cities. The battle is over. Vegeta falls. His aura blinks out. He drops toward the ocean like a stone. Thor dives after him. Strange opens a portal under his path, bending the fall so he lands on the helicarrier deck instead of water. He hits hard. The deck dents. Med teams swarm again. Vegeta lies still, chest barely rising. The band on his wrist is now just a faint line in his skin, with the small balance scale glowing dull. Steve kneels beside him. You did it, Steve says softly. You chose us. Vegeta's eyes flutter. I chose. Both, he croaks. My world, this one. I chose to keep them both standing. He laughs once, weakly. Pride is strange, he says. It hurts when you give something up, but it hurt more when I only cared about myself. Banner checks the monitors. His Kai is down but stable, Banner says. Null threads are quiet. The rift is gone. We have a scar in the sky. Those with the right sensors can see, but it's sealed. No more open door. Strange exhales, shoulders sagging. Thor looks up at the fading light where the rift was. 2 universes saved for now, Thor says, at the cost of one prince's path home. Tony hovers nearby, face soft behind his helmet. I might be able to jury-rig something someday, Tony says, with Bulma's notes if we ever meet her. But for now, yeah, that way is gone. Vegeta closes his eyes. He lets the loss sit inside him. It feels like a missing limb. He does not scream. He does not curse. He has done plenty of both in his life for smaller things. This time, he just breathes. He feels a new weight settle over him. Not from the tribunal, from his own choice. He has made himself something else now. Not just a visitor, not just an invader. Part of this world's story. Night falls. The fires are mostly out. Rescue crews move through damaged streets. Wakandan ships and S.H.I.E.L.D. dropships work side by side. People pull each other from rubble and share blankets. In a quiet room in the Avengers compound, Vegeta lies on a bed, awake now, hooked to a few monitors. His body aches in places he did not know could ache. Steve sits in a chair nearby. Strange stands at the window, looking at the scar shape only he can see in the sky. Thor leans against a wall. Tony paces. The room feels full of waiting. The air thickens. The shadows in one corner stretch. The tribunal's presence fills the room, not in full form, but as a projection. A small version of its three-faced figure made of pale light. Everyone stiffens. Strange bows his head slightly, out of respect, not worship. Steve stands. Thor grips Mjolnir but does not raise it. Vegeta pushes himself up on one elbow. The tribunal's voices echo without sound. The crisis of the breach is contained, it says. The hybrid pattern is bound. The Kree are checked for now. It is time. Steve nods. Time for what? He asks. The three paths, the tribunal says, for the Scion who tied two universes. He must be given a mandate and a choice. It raises a hand. The world around Vegeta shifts. He is still in the room, but it is like a second layer of reality overlaps. He sees visions. The first path unfolds. He stands in Capsule Corp's yard. The sky is his own. Bulma runs toward him, eyes wide, Trunks close behind. They hug him. He feels their warmth. Behind them, the house flickers. Scenes shift. In one, he remembers everything. The Tribunal, Earth's heroes, the Kree. In another, his memories blur. The Tribunal's limit extends farther. To keep the multiverse safe, it removes detailed knowledge of the laws and paths from his mind. He remembers only that he went away and came back stronger. Far away, in a place he cannot see, Earth's heroes stand without him when the next breach threat comes. They struggle. They may win. They may not. The Tribunal's voice marks it. Return, it says. You go home now. We remove your path from this universe. You risk memory loss of these laws. Earth stands alone against future cross-breach threats. Your family is safe for now, but the balance you helped shape may break if others cannot fill your place. The vision fades. A second path appears. Vegeta stands alone in space between universes, not at the Citadel, not on a world. He moves from crisis to crisis. Sometimes he lands on Earth, sometimes on other worlds in other realities. He is a lone figure, punching breaches shut, smashing invaders, disappearing again before anyone can tie him down. He is free. He answers to no single world, no law except his code and the Tribunal's basic limit. He often arrives late. Sometimes he leaves early. Behind him, some worlds cheer. Others curse his name. On Earth, the Avengers look up at the sky, never sure if he will be there when they call. Trust phrase. Alliances strain. The Tribunal's voice defines it. Free agent, it says. You act alone across the multiverse. You answer summons as you wish. You risk schism. Heroes turn on you when your choices cost their worlds. Empires chase you for your power. Balance holds for a time, but at great tension. That vision fades too. The third path comes. Vegeta stands on a high platform in the Avengers compound. Beside him are Steve, Thor, Strange, Tony, and others he has yet to meet. In the sky, the small scar from the rift glows faintly with a balanced scale symbol. He wears new armor. His cyan crest shows on his chest, but over it, subtle and clear, is the Avengers. A intertwined with the balanced scale the Tribunal set on his wrist. It is not a brand pressed on him. It is a fusion. His choice made visible. He moves through missions, sometimes on Earth, sometimes at the edge of reality, always with some measure of structure. He is part of a network. When cross-breach dangers rise, he is called by name through Strange's portals and Banner's systems and Fury's orders. He has limits, he has rules. He does not always like them. When he burns hybrid surge to stop a threat, the pain is shared. Strange bears some, others bear some. They talk before they act, they still bleed, but the bleeding is chosen together. His family appears in the vision too. Bulma works at a console, speaking with Tony through a projected screen, trading designs that might, someday, build a safer gate for small communications, not travel. Trunks trains with other young heroes in some strange mixed training ground that is both Earth and not. The Tribunal's voice names this path. Sanctioned servant, it says, not a slave, a bound guardian. You serve under set laws. Your hybrid power used only under clear conditions. You gain stable allies. You lose some freedom. You may not go home for a long time, perhaps ever, but your actions protect both your world and this one as part of a wider design. The visions fade. The hospital room returns. The Tribunal's small projection watches him. Each path carries blood, it says. In one, Earth bleeds more. In another, trust and order bleed. In the third, you bleed slowly over time, your freedom cut, but your impact woven into law. There is no path without pain. Choose. Silence falls. Steve looks at Vegeta. This is your call, Steve says. Not ours, Thor nods. Asgard will honor any choice, Thor says. You have earned that. Strange's eyes are calm. I will work to hold the balance whichever way you step, Strange says. But I will not lie. If you leave as a free blade, we may face you as foe one day. If you return and forget, we may curse your absence. If you stay, you and I will argue often. Tony folds his arms. Speaking as the guy who has to plan for everything, Tony says quietly, I like having you where we can call you. Not just hope you swing by, but I also know what it is to lose your life to duty. Vegeta looks down at his hand. It shakes slightly. He thinks of his old self, the Vegeta who would have taken the free agent path without a second thought, just to prove he kneels to no one. The one who would have taken return if it meant power and comfort, even if others paid. He is not that man anymore, not fully. He lifts his head. When I came here, he says, I was an invader. I saw this world as a theater for my pride. I wanted to find a foe strong enough to push me. I did not care who got hurt, as long as I stood at the center. He looks at Steve, Thor, Strange, Tony, and out at the city beyond the window. But this world fought beside me, he says. You argued with me. You stopped me from making lazy choices. You showed me that power that only serves itself is empty. He turns his gaze to the Tribunal. I will not walk away and leave you to face what I helped bring, he says. So I refuse return for now. I will not wander alone, answering to no one. I have done that. It made my pride hollow. So I refuse free agent. He draws a breath. I choose to stay, he says. Sanctioned. Bound by rules that keep both universes standing. Not as your dog, as your sword, used with care. You do not own me, but I will accept a place in your design, as long as it does not ask me to abandon my family or my code. The Tribunal is silent. Then the central face glows. Choice recorded, it says. Mandate set. Light spills from the projection. It wraps Vegeta. His armor changes. The cyan royal crest on his chest remains. Around it, faint lines form the Avengers A, stylized as part of a shield shape. Over both, at the center, the small balanced scale glows. The band mark on his wrist shifts too. It now shows 3 tiny lines beneath the scale. Return, free, serve. Only the third is lit. The light fades. The tribunal's projection speaks one last time. Boundaries of mandate, it says. The Scion may not open rifts for personal gain. He may not use hybrid surge inside populated zones unless a threat will kill millions if unchecked. Each surge used will send pain and risk through him and those who share his burden. The Earth's mystic and secular leaders may call him to cross-breach crises. They may not command him in all things. He must seek mercy when possible, but he is permitted lethal force against those who would tear the balance apart. It looks at Strange and Steve. You are his anchors, it says. You will hold him to this law. If he breaks it, we will weigh all three of you. Steve nods, steady. We accept, he says. Strange nods as well. We will argue, he says, but we will stand. The tribunal's projection flickers. Balance holds, it says. For now. It vanishes. The room feels lighter and heavier at once. Tony lets out a long breath. Well, he says, welcome to the team, Prince of all conditional clauses. Vegeta smirks. You talk too much, he says. But I will stand with you. Steve extends a hand. Vegeta looks at it. For a moment, he hesitates. Then he takes it. Their hands clasp. Outside in the damaged city, a kid sits on a curb, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the night sky. His parents talk with a S.H.I.E.L.D. medic nearby. He holds a cracked phone screen. On it is a paused clip of the battle. A tiny figure in blue and white armor, hair like a flame, standing between a beam and the world. The kid opens a drawing app and starts to sketch. He draws that figure again. This time, on the chest, he adds a mix of shapes. A weird, spiky symbol, an A, and a little set of scales. He doesn't know all the stories. He only knows this. When the sky tried to break, that symbol stood there. For him, that's enough. In the weeks that follow, the world changes in small, sharp ways. S.H.I.E.L.D. holds captured Kree tech in deep, guarded vaults. Banner, Tony, and Wakandan scientists argue over how much to study and how much to lock away. Strange walks those labs sometimes, feeling for any echo of null that might slip free. In space, the ruins of the Kree cruiser drift. Salvage crews from other powers pick at them. On Hala, the Kree homeworld, the Supreme Intelligence watches new timelines. It adjusts. Its anger at the tribunal's interference simmers. It begins new plans that do not rely on hybrid key. Plans that seed belief and law more quietly through agents and deals. A shard of null key, left behind when the mirror foe was torn from the path, floats in a forgotten layer between universes. It waits. It hums to itself. It remembers Vegeta's face. In Asgard, or what remains of it, old records are updated. They add a note about a Scion prince who accepted limits rather than see worlds burn. On Earth in Wakanda, T'Challa meets with Steve and Shuri and Tony. They speak of a council that might one day stand between worlds. A thought is seeded. A group that guards the lines, not just the lands. And in the Avengers compound, life finds a new shape. Vegeta trains in a reinforced gravity chamber Stark helped build, with designs sent through a thin, one-way data link the Tribunal allowed between this universe and his home. Bulma's notes arrive in small packets, stripped of anything that could open paths. Sometimes, when the chamber door opens, he finds others stepping in. Thor, to test himself against someone who hits like a storm, but moves like a blade. Hulk, to practice smash smart, against a foe who can take a punch and still talk. Peter, to learn how to read a fighter's rhythm from a master. Steve, to spar in a ring where fists and will mean more than explosions. They argue, they clash, they build trust. At night, when the sky is clear, Vegeta sometimes stands alone on the roof. He stares at the faint scar in the stars. He lifts his hand and touches the scale mark on his wrist. He speaks quietly, not to anyone in particular. "I am still Prince of all Saiyans," he says. "But I am also something more now. This world's, what do you call it? Guardian? Avenger? I will never kneel to tyrants again. Not Kree, not gods, not even you, Cosmic Judge. But I will stay within the lines I chose. I will bear the pain when I must. I will not let my power be lazy again." Somewhere beyond sight, the tribunal listens. It does not answer. It does not need to. The balance is not a person to praise. It is a rule that lets many stories go on. Rooftops below, people tell new tales. They talk about Iron Man and Thor and Captain America and Spider-Man. They also talk about the new one. The angry prince from another universe who came to conquer, stayed to protect, and now stands at the edge of their world, with scales on his wrist and a strange crest on his chest. Villains whisper his name in their plans. Allies write it into their strategies. Kids scribble it on school notebooks. Vegeta. Codex note. Under tribunal sanction mandate, Vegeta's hybrid key may only breach its limiter in response to threats that risk millions of lives. Each such use scars him, nudges the balance, and deepens his binding to Earth as both guardian and judged.